Hello students, now is the time for our English language online class. So we are completing already the chapters for our first term examination, and we continuing revision of the chapters. Today we will revise the chapter 5, Athos, Porthos and Aramis. Actually, this is a story by Alexander Dumas. He was a French writer famous for his tales of historical adventure, like the Count of Monte Cristo, the Three Musketeers, and the Man in the Iron Mask. And this tale is taken from the novel The Three Musketeers, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis. It is actually a French historical adventure novel. So, D'Artagnan, a character of this story, was in hurry, running after someone, and so knocked down Athos, a musketeer. As D'Artagnan made his way, asking to excuse him, Athos stopped him and challenged him a duel at 12 o'clock near the Creme's Deschaux at 12 o'clock. Okay? Assuring him to present there at correct time, D'Artagnan ran on to catch the man from Meung. Then at the corner of the street there was Porthos, who was talking to another musketeer. When D'Artagnan was trying to rush on between them, he was caught in Porthos' long cloak and noticed that front of Porthos' belt was made of gold and the rest was simple leather. D'Artagnan pointed it when Porthos angrily asked him about his hurriedness. Then Porthos challenged him to a duel. And it was fixed at 1 o'clock behind the Luxembourg Palace. Then D'Artagnan met Aramis, talking to a group of musketeers. As Aramis ignored him, D'Artagnan felt insulted. Suddenly, Aramis dropped his handkerchief and trying to hide it, putting his foot on it. And D'Artagnan then and there picked it up and handed over to Aramis. Aramis became annoyed because the embroidered handkerchief only belonged to ladies. Everyone in the group started to tease Aramis about the handkerchief. Aramis was angry and challenged D'Artagnan for a duel. Now, D'Artagnan was in a difficult situation because he had to duel with 3 different musketeers in a matter of 3 hours, but in a same day. Then, when D'Artagnan arrived at Luxembourg Palace just at 12 o'clock, he found Athos first, and then Porthos and Aramis one by one. Athos declared that his 2 friends, Porthos and Aramis, would act as his seconds in the duel. It was a great astonishment to D'Artagnan as well as Porthos and Aramis. Porthos and Aramis were as astonished as D'Artagnan. "But I was going to fight this gentleman," Porthos told to Athos. Porthos told to Athos that he was going to fight this gentleman. That means D'Artagnan. "Not till 1 o'clock," said D'Artagnan. "I too. I am going to fight him," said Aramis. "Not till 2 o'clock," said D'Artagnan. "But what are you fighting about, Athos?" asked Aramis. Aramis asked Athos the cause of fighting. "He hurt me on my shoulder," replied Athos. "And you, Porthos?" asked Aramis. "I fight because I fight," replied Porthos, growing red. "We had an argument about his dress," said D'Artagnan. "And you, Aramis?" asked Athos. "Me? I had a religious argument with him," answered Aramis, signaling to D'Artagnan that he wished to hide the real cause of their quarrel from his friends. Actually, he was just trying to hide the fact about the handkerchief. So, he tell the lie. "Truly, D'Artagnan is a man with a lot of courage," murmured Athos. D'Artagnan, a courageous person. The two men drew their swords. Didn't they? The two men drew their swords. At that moment, a party of the cardinal guards came round the corner. Actually, cardinal guard means a soldier in the service of the French clergy on that time, on earlier times actually. So, on that moment, just when they drew their swords, on that moment, a party of the cardinal guards came there. They were led by Monsieur de Jussac, a famous swordsman. Monsieur de Jussac was a famous swordsman. He led them. The cardinal's guards, "Put your swords away, quick!" cried Porthos and Aramis together. Porthos and Aramis together cried to put the cardinal guard's swords away. But it was too late. Athos and D'Artagnan had been seen fighting a duel. This was against the law, and it meant prison for both of them. As it was against the law to fight duel, it means that they both must go to prison. "Let us carry on fighting," said Athos to the guards. "And if we ever see you fighting, I promise you, we will not disturb you." So Athos told to the guards to carry on the fighting, and if we ever see you fighting, so he told that, "I promise you, we will not disturb you." "Musketeers, I repeat, it is my duty to arrest you. Put your swords away, if you please, and come with us." Cardinal guards said that. Athos and his companion did not move. Athos and his companions means Athos, Porthos, Aramis and D'Artagnan. They don't move. "There are 5 of them and only 3 of us," said Athos in a low voice. "We shall be beaten if we fight them, but I would rather die than be arrested by Jussac." So actually, Athos don't want to arrested by Jussac. He knew that they will be beaten if there will be a fight. But rather than being arrested, he just wanted to fight. "Let us die together," said Porthos and Aramis, coming closer to Athos. "You are not one of us," said Porthos. D'Artagnan wanted to join them with the three musketeers. And Porthos said that "you are not one of us. I may not have the uniform of a musketeer, but I have the heart and soul of one." D'Artagnan did not move a step. "You are a brave fellow," said Athos. "What is your name?" "D'Artagnan, sir." "Well, Porthos, Aramis and D'Artagnan, forward," said Athos. They rushed at the cardinal guards and a fierce fight began. The fight was a fierce one actually. D'Artagnan fought like a tiger against Jussac and wounded him badly. D'Artagnan was a brave fighter and he wounded Jussac badly. Then he went to help Athos, who was growing paler and paler but was still fighting bravely. After a few minutes of rest, Athos returned to fight and managed to kill his enemy. Aramis and Porthos wounded their enemies so badly that they could not fight on. Only one of the cardinal guards, Biscarat, remained on his feet. Biscarat was fighting till then. He saw that he was one against four, but he refused to surrender his sword. To do so was to show that he was beaten. Instead, he broke his sword across his knee. He just broke his sword across his knee. Bravery is always respected, even in an enemy. The musketeers saluted Biscarat with their swords and returned them to their scabbard. Scabbard means a metal or leather cover for the blade of a sword. Where the sword is, they put the sword actually. Then they carried their wounded enemies to the convent nearby. Waving the four swords they had captured, the victorious musketeers set off happily for Monsieur de Treville's headquarters. They walked arm in arm, occupying the whole street as they were victorious. So they was happy, they were all. D'Artagnan was filled with joy as he walked proudly between Athos and Porthos. "If I am not yet a musketeer," he told his new friends, "at least I am on the way of becoming one." As he showed all the bravery, so he just going to be a musketeer too. So it was the story, and you read all the question answers and prepare the chapter carefully. This much for today. Bye till my next class.